For centuries, the planet Corel 7 had been nothing more than a dry, lifeless rock, spinning at the edge of a forgotten star system. The desert winds howled across endless plains of red sand, hiding secrets older than any living race. Most ships avoided it. There were no resources, no life, nothing to see until a curious group of alien researchers from the Zorani Alliance landed to study the planet's strange magnetic readings. Among them was a young xenohistorian named Errol Tall. She wasn't important, just a junior academic, often ignored by the senior scientists. But Errol had something the others didn't, feeling. From the moment they arrived, she felt something calling from beneath the dust. It wasn't fear. It was ... familiarity. As if something ancient was waiting to be found, days turned into weeks. Most of the team gave up when no signs of life appeared. But then, one morning, their scanners lit up. Something enormous was buried just beneath the surface of structure, made of a metal unknown to the Zorani. Carefully, they began digging. Layer by layer, the sand fell away, revealing dark silver panels and deep grooves carved with a strange, angular script. It wasn't Zorani, it wasn't Council standard. It was something long lost to the stars. As the sun set, Errol stood before the exposed front of the structure, her heart pounding. She brushed her hand across the smooth, time-worn surface and uncovered a symbol, a circle crossed with 3 sharp lines. Her translator had no match, but deep in her memories, something stirred. Later that night, while the others rested, Errol sneaked into the dig site alone. The stars shimmered above her, and the wind had gone still. She placed her palm against a faint panel that pulsed with weak energy. To her shock, it responded. A soft hum echoed under her feet, and lights flickered to life along the metal wall. Voice spoke clear, calm, and human. Identify yourself. You have access to secure system. State your affiliation with the Earth Coalition fleet. Errol froze. Her mouth went dry. Earth Coalition. That name hadn't been spoken in over 3,000 years. Humanity was a mystery, a myth to many, spoken of only in legends. The Great Silence had erased them from history. No records, no signals, just rumors of what once was. I'm not human, she whispered. They're gone. The voice paused, then responded, that is, unfortunate, but the mission is not complete. Humanity must not be forgotten. Suddenly, lights across the entire structure ship flared to life. The sand began to shift as buried panels rose, revealing the massive hull of what had once been a warship, larger than any vessel Errol had seen. Her heart raced. The legends were real. The stories told by old space traders, laughed at by scholars, they were true. Humanity had not vanished. Something of them had remained, waiting in silence beneath the dust. Errol stepped back, eyes wide with wonder and fear. The ship was waking. It had slept through ages, through empires, through the rise and fall of stars. And now, because of her, it was alive again. In that moment, under the quiet sky of a forgotten planet, Errol Tall felt history shift. Humanity, long thought lost to time, was stirring once more. The next morning, the dig site was full of nervous energy. Something had changed. The air felt warmer, the sand had shifted, and soft lights glowed beneath the surface. Errol stood silently at the edge, staring at the metallic hull that had risen. During the night, she didn't sleep. She couldn't, that voice, calm, human, full of memories, still echoed in her mind. She didn't tell the others what happened, not yet. Not until she understood what she had found. With shaking hands, she stepped forward again, approaching the panel that had spoken to her. The moment her hand touched the surface, a soft blue glow traced around her fingers, and the same voice returned. Biometric scan complete. Access granted. Welcome aboard, authorized guest. A low hum rolled through the ground as a hatch slowly opened with a long sigh, releasing a breath of air sealed for centuries. Dust swirled around her feet. Inside, dim lights flickered on, revealing a narrow hallway lined with steel and faded markings. Errol took a deep breath and stepped inside. The air smelled clean, untouched, preserved by the ship itself. She followed the lights, her heart beating fast until she reached a large circular chamber. In its center stood a tall, flickering projection, a hologram of a human woman in a dark blue uniform. Hands behind her back, eyes sharp and calm. Designation: Captain Adrian Holt, Final Commander of the Resolve. Status: Mission interrupted. Awaiting reactivation. The hologram turned slowly, as if seeing Errol for the first time. You are not human. State your purpose. Errol swallowed hard. I found you. We thought humanity was gone. The captain's eyes flickered. Her voice softened, but carried deep strength. Humanity does not vanish. We endure. Errol felt a strange warmth in her chest. This wasn't just a machine. It was memory, heart, purpose. She asked softly, "What was your mission?" The captain looked away for a moment, then replied, "Rescue, evacuation. We were the last fleet sent to save stranded colonies before the communication blackout. We lost contact and never returned." Pain echoed in her voice, but only for a moment. We failed. And so I waited for a signal, for someone, for a reason to wake. Errol blinked away tears. You weren't forgotten, not by all of us. Suddenly alarms flared outside. The Zerani researchers had noticed the activity. Shouts echoed through the dig site. Drones hovered, scanning the ship's now active systems. Everyone was afraid of something ancient and unknown. The captain's eyes narrowed. Unknown ships detected. Energy signatures are foreign. This ship must not fall into hostile hands.
I'll wait,
Errol said quickly. They're not hostile, just scared. They don't know what you are. The ship's systems responded not with weapons, but with light shimmering signals rising from its surface like a beacon. It wasn't a threat. It was a message. Return not as conquerors, the captain said calmly, but as witnesses, as memory. Errol stepped outside to calm the panicked crew. She raised her hands and shouted, "It's not dangerous. It's a human ship, an ancient one. It's peaceful." Some backed away in fear. Others stared in awe. One older scientist dropped to his knees, whispering, "It's true." The legends were true. By nightfall, the ship was fully powered. Its name shimmered across its side in both old Earth lettering and strange symbols. U.S. Resolve. A ship lost to time. A warship built not to destroy, but to save. Errol stood before it, her heart full. She had woken something that the galaxy had forgotten, and something that had waited with patience, with purpose. And now it was no longer sleeping. Asterisk, asterisk. Across the stars, the signal from U.S. Resolve traveled like a forgotten whisper. It moved through dark space, past silent moons and shining suns, past busy trade routes and quiet stations. And when it reached the heart of the Galactic Council, it caused a silence deeper than space itself. In a shining chamber floating above the planet Averon, 12 alien leaders sat in urgent meeting. Their faces showed fear not of war, but of the past. The name humanity had not been spoken in truth for generations. They had believed the species gone, vanished after the Great Silence. Their technology, their strange way of thinking, their courage and unpredictability, lost to history.
Oh.
Something had changed. The Zerani counselor, pale and trembling, stood before the others and spoke. The ship has power. It speaks, and it remembers everything. A tall, scaled ambassador from the Rajan Empire bared her teeth. Do you realize what this means? That ship is from the old days. If it spreads, if others begin to remember our order, our peace, our control will collapse. But others were not so afraid. The Lyri, a gentle aquatic race who once traded with humans long ago, whispered with hope. They were kind to us. When no one else listened, the humans did. Why should we fear memory? The debate grew louder. But in the far corner, an old archivist quietly accessed forgotten data files. He pulled up stories of human missions, lost colonies and old alliances. he said softly. The humans were not perfect, but they were never ordinary. Back on Kirill 7, the ship's power continued to grow. Errol stayed aboard with the hologram of Captain Adrian Holt, learning, piece by piece, about what the Resolve once was. It had saved thousands of lives. It had led peaceful missions into dark space. It had shared medicine, food, and knowledge with broken planets. And then, without warning, Earth had gone silent. Errol asked one day, "Did you know what happened?" To Earth, the captain shook her head slowly. "We received one final message. All ships, return if able. Earth may fall silent soon. Do not lose hope." And then ... nothing. Errol lowered her head. The sadness in the captain's voice didn't come from programming. It came from loss. Outside, Zorani researchers began leaving the planet. Many feared what would come next. A human ship, especially a warship, would bring attention from every corner of the galaxy. Traders spoke of it. Pilots whispered about it. People across different worlds began watching the old stories again. Images of brave humans standing side by side with alien allies returned to the holoscreens. Some were afraid. Others were inspired. Then, the message came. A Galactic Council envoy ship appeared above Kirill 7, sending a transmission. To those aboard the UES Resolve, you are requested to shut down all systems. This is for galactic safety. You are an unauthorized artifact of a defunct species. Captain Holt heard the message. Her eyes narrowed. Defunct? Errol stood beside her. They're afraid. The captain looked toward the stars and replied calmly. They should not fear memory, only forgetting. But the council did fear it. More than anything, and they had already begun planning in secret to remove the ship before it could awaken more than just its systems. Before it could awaken hope. In the quiet of the ship's command center, Errol looked up at the glowing ceiling. The stars had always felt distant. But now, she realized they were watching. The Resolve was no longer just a ship. It was a symbol, a spark, story that refused to fade. The days on Kirill 7 passed slowly, but inside the Resolve, it felt like time had come alive. As systems came online one by one, the ship seemed to breathe again. Lights were brighter. Halls once empty were now filled with soft humming sounds. Errol walked the silent corridors with quiet steps, always feeling as if the past was watching her. Captain Adrian Holt, though just a hologram, guided her like a real companion. Every question Errol asked was answered with care. Every corner of the ship told a piece of the human story, sometimes full of strength, sometimes filled with sorrow. One afternoon they reached a sealed door near the heart of the ship. A glowing sign above it read, "Hope Archive." Errol looked at the captain, unsure. "It contains the memory of Earth," the captain explained. "Our culture, our dreams, what we wish the stars to remember, even if we disappeared." With a slow hiss, the door opened. Inside was a large circular chamber, walls lined with glowing orbs and floating screens. As Errol stepped inside, hundreds of images came to life around her. She saw human children laughing under blue skies. Music played in languages long forgotten. A man painted a sunset. A woman danced beside a bonfire. A doctor held a newborn with tears in her eyes. Scientists hugged as they launched something into the stars. Families sang songs together in soft candlelight. None of it was war. None of it was fear. It was all ... life. Errol's throat tightened. These weren't warriors or legends. These were people. People who smiled, who loved, who hoped. Then, one hologram gently appeared in the center. A young human girl with curly hair and bright eyes looked straight ahead and spoke with warmth. "If you're watching this, we may be gone, but we want you to know. We were more than just fighters. We were builders, believed in peace, even when we had to struggle for it. Please, remember that." Errol's eyes filled with tears. For so long, the galaxy only remembered humans as unpredictable, powerful, dangerous. But here was proof they were so much more. They had wanted to be remembered for their hearts, it's not their weapons. Outside the chamber, the captain waited silently. "Why? Did you carry this?" Errol asked softly. "Because machines fade. ships fall. But memory, that is what makes us human, Captain Holt replied, as word of the archive spread. Other aliens from nearby systems started to visit. A quiet scholar from the Theran people came and wept when he heard Earth music. An old trader from the Leary brought a broken radio, saying it once picked up human songs when he was a child. The Resolve became more than a ship. It became a library of the soul. But not everyone was pleased. Far away, within the walls of the Galactic Council, fear turned into quiet plans. Powerful members whispered, if the ship continues to inspire, if humanity's story rises again, what control will we have left? They decided. The ship must not spread. Not now. Not ever. On Kirill 7, Errol didn't yet know of these plans. She stood in the Hope Archive, heart full, soul heavy. She whispered, you were never forgotten. We just didn't know how to remember, Captain Holt replied gently. Now you do. In that sacred room, surrounded by voices from the past, Errol made a silent promise. She would protect this ship, not because of fear, but because of what? It meant to light in the darkness, a voice in the silence, and above them, among the stars.
Out.
The Resolve sent out a quiet pulse, a heartbeat. Humanity had not returned to fight. It had returned to be heard. High above the quiet sands of Kirill 7, a new shadow appeared. Sleek council ships hovered in orbit, their dark shapes sharp against the sky. They came without warning, no greetings, no visits, just a message broadcast on every channel. This is the Galactic Council. The human vessel known as U.S. Resolve is to be shut down immediately. All interaction is to cease. This is for the safety of the galaxy. The message was cold and final. No room for debate. Inside the ship, Errol Tal stood frozen in the command chamber. The words echoed like thunder in her chest. She looked to Captain Adrian Holt, whose glowing form remained calm. But firm. They're afraid, Errol whispered. Yes. The captain replied, her voice steady. But not of this ship. They fear what it will remind the galaxy, that humans were once protectors, not threats. Errol clenched her fists. Ever since the ship had awakened, she had seen wonder in the eyes. Of every visitor, scholars, musicians, wanderers, they came not for weapons but for memory, for the warmth of songs and the honesty of human stories. But now the council only saw danger, and worse, some of the Zerani who once worked with her were beginning to step away. It's too risky, they said. We could lose everything. Even Errol's closest colleague, Varen, spoke gently but firmly. You've done enough, Errol. Let the past stay buried. She felt alone, torn between her people and the history she had come to love. That night, she sat quietly in one of the ship's side chambers. The room was once used by the crew for reflection. A curved bench faced a window showing the stars. Soft earth music played from a nearby console, an old piano tune, slow and full of emotion. I don't know what to do, she admitted out loud. The captain appeared beside her. Fear makes people forget who they are. You must remind them. How? Errol asked, her voice almost breaking. They won't listen. They're preparing to destroy this ship. The captain looked out at the stars. Then we speak to the galaxy. We show them who we were, and who we still are. The next day, the Resolve did not power down. Instead, it sent out a wide transmission across hundreds of systems. Not threats, not commands, but memories. The Hope Archive was open to the public. Old human songs played across frequencies. Holograms of peaceful missions, cultural dances, and children's laughter were shown freely. Words of unity, of friendship, of shared pain and healing, and people listened. On distant planets, old veterans remembered human aid during dark times. On trade worlds, artists painted human faces they had never seen, only heard of. Small ships flew to Kirill 7, not with weapons, but with gifts books, recordings, letters. Still, the council remained quiet. But their silence grew heavier, like the calm before a storm. Inside the Resolve, Errol stood taller now. She no longer felt alone. Round her, the ship pulsed with life, with purpose. It had no crew, yet it breathed like it did. And though the Council's ships remained in orbit, moving, their presence was clear. A warning, a threat. But the ship did not fear them, neither did Rel, because truth had woken. Above the dusty skies of Kiral 7, the Galactic Council's fleet remained in silent orbit, cold and still, but full of tension. Their weapons were not yet active, but their presence was clear. Submit or be silenced. The Council had made up its mind. The Resolve was too dangerous to be left alive. It wasn't about weapons or war. It was about fear. Fear that a forgotten species might inspire the galaxy again. Inside the ship, Errol Tall stood before the main console, heart heavy but unshaken. She had made her choice. This ship, this memory, this symbol of humanity was worth protecting. Not with fire, but with truth. "We don't have shields," she said quietly. Captain Holt's hologram appeared beside her. "We don't need them." Errol looked confused. "Then how do we defend ourselves?" The captain smiled. "We remind them of who we are." The Resolve powered up not its weapons, but its message. Lights across its hull lit up in soft waves. A beacon of peace pulsed out across space. And then the main communication systems opened once again. Errol stepped forward, her voice broadcast across every nearby channel. Not just to the Council, fleet, but to the galaxy beyond. "This is Errol Tall speaking from the human vessel US Resolve. I speak not as a threat, but as a voice of memory. This ship does not carry war, it carries the truth. Inside it are the songs, stories, and lives of a people who once helped shape the stars." She paused, took a breath, and added, "You fear this ship because you think it brings change. But maybe it brings something better. Hope." There was silence. Then something unexpected happened. A small civilian ship appeared near Kiral 7. Then another. Then 10 more. Some were old, barely held together. Others were research ships, family cruisers, cargo haulers. None had weapons. They came in peace, drawn by the Resolve signal and the promise of memory. One of the ships sent a message. "We remember. My grandfather told me how humans helped rebuild our colony when no one else came." Another followed. "I teach music. One of my songs came from an old Earth melody. I never knew where it came from until now." From every direction, small ships formed a loose circle around the Resolve, not as soldiers, but as witnesses. The Council fleet stayed still. Their commanders watched as the simple truth of a forgotten race began to undo years of silence and fear. Inside the ship, Captain Holt looked toward. "Errol, do you see?" she said. "We do not stand alone." In the following hours, something even more powerful began to unfold. Former allies of humanity, long-forgotten races who had hidden their stories out of fear, came forward. The Lyri, the Theron even. Quiet groups among the Zerani sent public messages, saying they too remembered the kindness of human explorers, the bravery of human healers, the strength of human hearts. The Resolve never lifted a weapon. It never needed to. It stood tall, glowing, filled with the voices of a species long thought lost. And as the stars watched, something even the Council could not stop began to happen. The truth had been spoken, the memory had been shared, and across the galaxy, hope began to stir. In the days that followed, the sky above Kirelzavan became brighter than ever before. Not from war, but from light. Hundreds of peaceful ships hovered gently around the Resolve, like stars gathering to protect one of their own. Scientists, travelers, historians, and even children came, not with weapons, but with gifts, books, art, stories, and songs. The Galactic Council, once powerful and unquestioned, now stood silent. They had tried to control the future by burying the past. But the past had risen, not to destroy but to heal, inside the Resolve. Errol Tall stood in the Hope Archive once again, surrounded by the laughter of long-gone children, the music of Earth, and messages that still glowed like gentle fireflies. Her eyes were soft but proud. She had done what she once thought impossible. She brought back a voice that was nearly erased. Captain Adrian Holt appeared beside her, calm as always. "You've given them a chance to remember," the captain said. Errol smiled faintly. "No, you gave it to them. I just listened." For the first time since waking, the captain's voice held something new. Peace. A message from the Zorani Alliance arrived. It was no longer a warning. It was an invitation. The resolve is to be recognized, not as a weapon, but as a cultural vessel, a keeper of memory. We ask that it join the Galactic Archive Network. The ship that was once feared had now become a guardian of history, a living museum, a beacon, and a bridge between old wounds and new understanding. And then, when no one expected it, something miraculous happened. As the ship continued to send out its signal across deep space, a new response came through. A signal that had not been heard in 3,000 years. It was simple, quiet, but it made every heart on board stop. "This is Earth Station Sigma, receiving transmission. Identify yourself." Rel gasped. Her hands trembled as she opened up. "Secure channel? This is Errol Tao. Aboard U.S. Resolve, we found your ship. We found your story." There was a pause, and came a soft reply. "We thought we were alone." Tears filled Errol's eyes. Captain Holt's form flickered, her posture straightening. "You are not," she whispered. And just like that, the silence of centuries was broken. Later, under the starry sky, Errol stood outside the ship, feeling the warm wind brush her face. Children from visiting worlds played nearby. Scholars recorded stories. Artists painted the resolve on canvas and lightboards. Music from a dozen species echoed in harmony. The ship that had once waited in dust and silence was now alive with voices. Captain Holt, her hologram now brighter than ever, looked at the stars and spoke gently. "Humanity was never meant to conquer the galaxy. We only wanted to be part of it." Errol nodded. "Now you are." The resolve was no longer just a ship. It was a symbol. A promise that no voice, no memory, no people should ever be truly forgotten. And as it began its first journey across the stars in 3,000 years this time, it's not alone. It carried with it not soldiers, but stories. Not fear, but friendship. Not war, but hope. And so, under the watchful eyes of the galaxy, humanity returned, not with fire, but with light, forgotten no more.